Never be embarrassed to struggle. There's absolutely no shame in working hard to get to the place that you want to be. A lot of people stay stuck in a life that they do not want to live because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived as others. They are afraid of being embarrassed. They are afraid of being seen as cringy. So they stay stuck in the same place their entire life. And the worst part about this is because many of them are experiencing a psychological phenomenon actually called the spotlight effect. This effect was coined in the late 90s, and it actually was started in Harvard when they start doing studies, and they noticed that a lot of individuals thought they were perceived more than they actually were. And so they did an experiment. They had individuals on a college campus go around wearing shirts that had embarrassing things on them. And after they had them walk around, they asked them, how many people do you think noticed your shirt? The people said around 50%. After they went around and did their study again, they found out about 25% of the individuals even noticed their shirt. So about half of that. Now think about half of 25. Those are probably individuals who actually really cared or said anything about it. And then think about how many individuals actually matter in a way that they'll bring it up again. I say all that to say, a lot of times we think that more people perceive us than not. We think more people will remember us than not in the things that we do. So a lot of times we stay stuck in a certain life because of the spotlight. We feel like it's a spotlight on us when we do something. People are going to remember this. People are going to say this about us. People are going to say that about us. So we don't do certain things because we're afraid of being embarrassed. We don't want to have a shame. We don't want to have this idea of us floating around that we're like this and we're like that. So we actually don't go after the things that we want to in life because we think that everyone is watching us. Now, your fear of being seen as who you truly are is the reason why you've become someone that you are not. See, what happens when we get into this idea of a fear of being seen, or really a fear of being perceived, if you will, is we start assuming that everyone is going to think bad things about the things that we do, especially when they're not in line with the traditional things that we may have done before, or maybe things that as a group, as a collective, we've done before. So that girl that wants to quit her job and go into a different field, she doesn't notice it, but it's coming from her fear of being seen why she's not actually doing it. Now, what is her brain telling her? Your brain wants you to feel right. Your brain wants you to feel like you're in power with every decision and everything that you do. So what your brain is going to say is, oh yeah, no, we shouldn't do that because, how are we going to pay the bills? And we actually shouldn't do that because, what if we go into another job and we don't like it? And then we actually shouldn't do that. What your brain does when you have fear is they start developing negative thoughts, negative connotations around things, and even making up hardships, right? So it's very similar to that individual that's like, oh yeah, I really want to start this business. I really want to do this. I really want to do that, right? This is what they had a thought for a while. But then after a while, they're like, you know what? This makes no sense. I don't have any money to start a business, and I didn't come from a rich family and all these other things. And so to them, that makes sense, right? Because to start a business, of course you have to come from a rich family, right? Of course you have to have everything figured out, right? Of course you don't. And so I think what a lot of people don't do is realize the reason why you have essentially become someone that you truly didn't want to become is because when it comes to the things that you truly want to do in life, instead of actually going after those things, you've developed negative connotations with those things. You've essentially talked yourself out of those things and convinced yourself why you should not do those things. But the root of that is your fear of being seen. You don't want to be seen as a failure, so you don't start that business because you're afraid of if you start that business, then it would fail. You don't want to be seen as cringy, so you don't post on social media because people may say that about you. But what do you tell yourself? Oh yeah, it's too many people that do content creation. It's overly saturated. Oh yeah, I don't know what to post on social media. You tell yourself all of these things, but it's just like, if you don't know what to post on social media, why do you want to become a content creator? That's like a chef saying, I don't know what to cook, but I want to become a chef. If you truly want to do that thing, you will figure it out. So now it calls you to ask yourself a question. Do you truly not want to do that thing? Which is okay, but is it also that you're afraid of being perceived as something, and that's what causes you not to do that thing? And that's what I want people to come to an understanding too. It's okay to think that you want to do something and then figure out that you don't, but I think more oftentimes than not, we've talked ourselves out of it. And once you start getting to the root of all these things, I want you to ask yourself, right? You told yourself, oh, you can't start that business because you didn't come from a rich family. So every person that started a business came from a rich family. No. You can find stories of people from your state, possibly even your city, who started businesses that have been successful. So it's not a lack of stories. It's not a lack of examples. It's just a lack of you really feeling like you can do this thing because of other people. Like, that's crazy to think about. I don't think I can physically do something because I'm afraid of what other people will say about me. And so what did I say? Going back to the negative thoughts. That's what we tell ourselves that we're having. I'm having doubts. I'm having this. No, you're having people around you that you think will talk about you. You have the spotlight effect. You think everyone's always going to remember your failures and everyone's always going to remember all these things that you do. When truly, similar to the shirts, they're not. Now, I've talked about this before on a video, but this also has to do with your schema, which actually makes this a lot more sad, in my opinion. So your schema is basically the process in your brain that tells you things based upon previous experiences. So when you look at a woman and she's middle-aged, she has a diamond ring on her ring finger, what are you going to assume? That she's married. Why? Because from previous experiences and just growing up, you've noticed over time that that's usually what that means. Now, if a 7-year-old was to see the same thing, they probably wouldn't come to the same conclusion. Why? Because they haven't gained enough experience, life experience, if you will, or just understanding in that specific area to know what that thing means. That analogy doesn't seem that complicated, right? If you look at something, that's what that means because based upon what you've known before. The thing that makes this scary when it comes to worrying about what people think about us is because everyone's schema is different. So on the wedding ring, yes, the average person would probably know that. But then when it comes to based upon the dreams that you have for your life. If you think about it, I always like to tell people, we don't realize how unique you are. Like literally your genetic makeup, the day you were born, the time you were born, all those other things will never happen again in history. So if you will physically never happen again, that probably means you mentally will never happen again as well. So the problem that you have is you're afraid of people perceiving you being a certain way, and you can't change that, similar to someone's schema, because it's based upon what they've known before. An analogy or an example of this can be when I was in high school is when I started wearing weaves and wigs and all that other stuff. And I'll never forget, I used to wear like longer weaves, similar to this length, if you will. And then one day I went to class and I think I was wearing my real hair. And my real hair was like right here, right? It was like right to my shoulder or something like that. And I'll never forget, there's this boy in my class and he also was white. And he was like, oh my gosh, Shamaya, you cut your hair. Like, why did you cut your hair? All this other stuff. Because he thought of me having all this long, thick hair. And my hair, I'm not gonna lie, my real hair was a little thin as well, still is a little thin as well. And so to him, he's like, why did you cut your hair? Based upon his schema, I cut my hair. Based upon the previous experiences that he had in his life, based upon probably the woman he was around, if a woman hair went from this length to this length, that means that she cut her hair. He never even thought that that wasn't my hair based upon his previous experience. Now, my friends already knew what was up. My friends knew that that wasn't my hair and I didn't have to explain nothing. But I want you to understand that's the same thing when it comes to life. Like, yes, I could have sat there and explained to him, oh yeah, well this isn't my hair and this is how tracks look at this and this and this and that. But I want you to understand he possibly wouldn't even really understood it. Like, I could have told him all that stuff and he really still could have been like, I don't really get it. Like, how does this work and how does that work? And because his life did not develop like that. His brain doesn't process stuff like that. And so bringing it back to the analogy having to deal with you, you're so afraid of people perceiving you a certain way, and I want you to know they are. They are. Yeah, they are until they're not. They're going to see you as a failure. Every business you have that's not successful until you have a successful business. That doesn't make you a failure, though. That just means you failed at businesses. Like, I don't think we understand how many times people fail at something. The girls that you see post their body and they've been going to the gym and it looks good, they don't post how many times they were going for years on and off and then they finally committed to it. And so for you looking at them from your schema, because all you know is them, since they only start posting once their bodies start looking good, your idea is, oh, she's always had a nice body. She's always, little do you know this girl had body dysmorphia. Little do you know this girl grew up with the eating disorder and all this other stuff, but she doesn't post that. So to you, technically that thing doesn't exist and it doesn't make sense. And so I want you to think about that when you're doing things because you're afraid of how people are going to perceive you. Oh, I'm scared to cut my hair because I don't want people to think of me like this. Oh, I'm scared to start this business because what if it fails? When people look at you as a failure, they may. Like, I want you to understand they may. But you're telling me you're not going to do that thing? And the only way you literally can get them not to perceive you the way you don't want to perceive is if you literally rewrite their entire childhood. You have to change their schema. And if you're ready to do that with everyone that you've met, go on. Explain yourself to everyone, even though that probably won't work as well. But it's like, I think once I start noticing that and understanding how everybody's brain works differently, I'm like, I get why some people don't understand that I want to become a content creator. Like, that literally makes no sense to some people. Their brain will never wrap around it. Their brain will never, like, and that's okay. And so I don't have a fear of posting content. I don't have a fear of being cringy. I don't have a fear because I know if anybody's like me and they want to become a content creator, they wouldn't look at me as being cringy. So why do I care that somebody who wants to become a psychiatrist is looking at me as being cringy? We have two different lives. We have two different schemas because I don't understand their life as well. Now, a reason why I feel like our generation goes through this at a heightened level is because of course, social media. The problem is, going back to people only posting their highlights on social media, is because it makes us feel very alone, i.e. it makes us feel like we have even more of a spotlight on us. And I always tell people, you only see the players. You never see the people in the stands. There are so many more people that are afraid to start a business than have actually started a business. There are so many more people that are afraid to, go to the gym than have actually gone to the gym. So you're only seeing the doers. I want you to know that you're only comparing yourself to individuals that are doing things. And so the reason that social media makes it harder is because all you're doing is go on social media. You want to start that business, but you don't know where to start. You're seeing everybody talk about how they made $1 million last year in their business. You want to start going to the gym, but you're scared. You're seeing everybody post their amazing body. Everything you want to do, there's going to be someone who's on their 5th year doing it and they have the results that you want. So it's going to make you feel even more like a spotlight. I can't go to the gym. The girls that go to the gym look like this. I promise you, if you've ever been to a regular gym, I'm not talking about them elite gyms. I'm talking about the Planet Fitnesses, the Crunch, like the regular gyms. I don't know the last time I saw somebody like the people on Instagram. But when you don't go outside, that's how it look. If you've ever went to a business workshop before, you will see how many people are not making $1 million a year. And so I think that's a problem with social media. It makes us feel like it's just us. I'm the only one going through this, and I don't want to be seen as broken. I don't want to be seen as a failure. And it's like, it causes us not even to try certain things because we feel like it's just us. And it's so many people going through what you're going through, but you just don't see them. And I think another reason why, which reiterates this fear of being seen, is because we actually don't have to be seen anymore, which does cause a problem because I think it does emphasize a lot more people going through things such as social anxiety. And then when you are out and you are seen, you feel like the spotlight effect. Everyone is looking at you because now we can order groceries to the house. Now we can, watch Netflix all day. You don't even have to go to the movies. Like, there's so many things. Amazon Prime, you don't even have to go out and shop, or, you can buy everything. And I think the problem with this causes is we also get a fear of being seen because we don't have to literally be seen. And some people, you don't realize as much because it's so easy to use it as an excuse of, oh, I can't find something. Don't get me wrong. I know the malls nowadays don't have nothing. But to a certain extent, like, a lot more people would rather buy things online. They'd rather order things to their house, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's shopping on Amazon, all these other things, because they don't want to go outside. And so when you finally do have to go outside, because we all have to go outside eventually, you do have this fear of like, oh my gosh, how are these people looking at me? And oh my gosh, what are these people thinking about me? And it reiterates this fear of being seen. So it's crazy because social media does give us an opportunity to learn more, to do more, to see more, but it also does emphasize more the spotlight effect because it's kind of like we don't see other people. So we literally don't see other people mess up at the gym. We literally don't see other people buy certain stuff. Like, there's some certain people that secretly order snacks. I don't know if y'all know anybody like that. There's some people who literally order a whole bunch of candy, a whole bunch of snacks, but they don't want to go out to the grocery store and get that because they don't want to seem greedy, so they order it to their house. What are you doing? You're reiterating the fear of being seen. I don't want to be seen or perceived as somebody greedy. I don't want to be perceived as a big back. So I'm just going to order it. And then when you do finally have to go out, if you do for any reason, you think everybody looking at you, oh, they're looking at me grab these cookies. Or they're looking at me grab this ice cream. Nobody's even worried about you. They're actually waiting for you to get out the way so they can get their cookies and their ice cream. But because we have cell phones, we don't get outside as much, or we think it's just us. Now, the phones actually cause a psychological phenomenon, not just the spotlight effect, but also it suppresses certain things inside of our brain. So there's an area inside of our brains that pieces together perceptions of actually people. So schema kind of is similar in a way, but it's a little bit different from schema. It's kind of like when you get that feeling of someone is a bad person. Like it's just something about that person I don't like, or it's something about that person they seem like a good person, right? There's a point of our brain that gets that, and it does it subconsciously, and it picks up on little things. Similar to when you watch a movie and they'll show like the person's eyebrow twitch a little bit, and they'll show the person's hands, move a little bit, and then their lip creases a little bit. Our brains do that naturally. But the problem is, since we are always on our phones, we are not using that part of our brain. So we literally feel like people don't like us. We literally feel like people are judging us because the part of our brain that people used to use 30, 40 years ago, that they used to just be able to be out and about and perceive people and kind of understand people a bit more, is literally suppressed. Because what do you do when you go out? You're literally in line at Chipotle ordering your food and you're like, white rice, steak, guacamole, and then you didn't even look at the girl who's making your food. You go out to eat, you do the same thing. You're in the line. We do it so much that we don't understand the part of our brain that used to pick up on small little things. It's harder for us to pick up on those things. So don't get me wrong. There are individuals, and I've done it myself, you just got a bad vibe from someone, or it's just something about someone that I knew that wasn't a good person. Yes, we still do have it to a certain extent, but it should be a lot quicker. It should be a lot better than it usually is. And I think that's another thing that reiterates this fear of being seen, is because it's like we feel like we're walking into a room with individuals who just have poker faces. And it's like they don't. People, for the most part, of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, people show you who they are through physicality. Like if they're paying attention to the conversation, if they really like you or they don't. But the simple fact that when we go outside, we're always on these things, not paying attention, usually because we're afraid to look up, or we don't want people noticing us, or we just do it to pass time. The part of our brain that usually can tell us these things is not being used. It's actually being suppressed because we're always on our phones. Like you're literally always on your phone. So even when you're out and about, it's like, I don't know how these people feel about me. I don't know. And it causes, again, the spotlight effect. You think more people are worried about you than they actually are because you can't read people. Because the part of your brain that used to be able to help you do that is getting suppressed by the constant use of your cell phone every single time you go out and about. So to help with this, one of the things I definitely recommend to do is to pay attention to how you are when you finally do go out and about. So first and foremost, of course, stop being on your phone as much. I think that's a no-brainer at this point with everything that I said. But also pay attention to your body language. When you go out about, keep your shoulders back and your head high. Harvard has actually done a study on this, and they found out that usually leads to having better mental health. It helps with things such as depression. It helps with anxiety. It's not saying it's just going to fix it like that. But a lot of times we don't realize we act how we feel. So if I was telling you there was two people, one was hunched over, they're like this, they're crouched, they're walking. A lot of times it's how you are on your phone. And then I also show you someone who back was straight and their head was high. And I said, which person is more confident? Of course, you would say the person who back is straight and their head is high. And so I want you to start going out like that. Do not go outside acting like you are fearful. I don't care if you have to fake it till you make it. You need to go outside being confident, because eventually your brain is going to process this as just being us. Another thing you need to start doing when you go outside, making eye contact. I know for some people this is so scary, and it's crazy that it's so scary. And I'm not telling you to stare at people, but I'm telling you to make eye contact with individuals. Similar to what I said, when people be in a line at Chipotle and on their phone, or when they're out and about ordering stuff and they're on their phone. I want you to look at people when they are talking, and I want you to look at people in general. You do not have to stare at them, but there's no reason why your friend is having a conversation with you and you're looking at your phone and you're checking Instagram. Look at that girl when she is speaking to you. Like, I think another reason why we have these fears is because we often go into a little shell. We often go into a little hermit crab of like, oh yeah, I don't know what's going, like we have like a little bit of anxiety. And so what is the first thing we do subconsciously? We pick up our phones. Like, start making eye contact with people. And the great thing about that is when you're making eye contact, you can't look at your phones. And one of the final things I want you to know, I am not telling you that you can completely turn off your fear of perception. I'm not telling you not to care about what anyone thinks about you ever again. What I'm telling you, honestly, to do is filter who you think or who you're worried about cares about you. That's what I noticed with myself. Like, yes, of course, limit your social media consumption. Yes, there's certain ways to move and how you carry yourself. But then also, I think it's important to filter out who you care about and what they think about you. Because we all have people that we care about, but it's like you can't care about everyone. The problem is you worried about the people who are looking at you when you go to the grocery store. You're worried about the people who look at you when you're going out to eat. Like, how many of those people do you ever see again? Rarely, none to any. But it's like, the people who are actually doing the things that you want to do, you usually care about them least. Like, for example, me as a content creator, I would never look at another content creator and like talk junk. Like, oh, she only got 5 views. She only got 10 followers. I would never say that, because there was a point in time where I was happy to have 5 views and I was happy to have 10 followers. And I think when you start switching who you care about, their perception of you, then that changes. Like, one thing now I'm paying attention to is my videos, right? I want my content to be better. So I care about another content creator saying, dang, she could be better with her content, or she could be more concise, or she could be more, that's what I care about. I don't care about somebody who doesn't make content that comment under my videos and say dumb stuff. I don't care, because you're not even going after your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. And I know you're not, because you wouldn't be under my post if you were. But thank you for the engagement. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think it's important that you filter out and actually figure out, because a lot of people haven't even figured out, who do you truly care about who perceives you. Like, that's what you need to start focusing on. That's what you need to start working on. And I know a lot of people probably watch this video thinking I was going to give you a 3-step plan and stop worrying about what people think about you. But it's not really like, it's kind of like building a muscle at the gym. You can't build the muscle unless you actually go to the gym. So like, you can't get over your fear until you actually start going outside and doing stuff. There's no way around it. There's no book you can read. There's no, even this video, like watching this video, the whole point of this is to give you ideas, but I want you to understand you cannot get through it until you do it. So until you actually work on your fears, but similar to the gym, start small. Like, don't go to the gym and try to do a 500-pound weight. Like, start small. I want you to start with a 2-pound weight. So similar to, you saying, oh, I have the fear of posting on social media. Okay, well, do you have the fear of actually recording? Record something. You don't have to post it, but like, your fear of posting on social media is like, you don't even post, you don't even record. Like, you don't even hit the record button. Like, you know what I'm saying? If your fear is going to the gym, okay, well, why don't you just like start working out in your home? Because a lot of times that will actually make you have to be honest with yourself and say, do I really have a fear, or I just genuinely don't want to do this thing? But it's like, start small and then work your way up if that's what you need to do. Some people are more extreme and they want to go straight at it, to each its own, but there's really no way around it but to get through it. So I want y'all to understand that too. There's no like secret mentality you're gonna get, and it's just about shifting your brain. It's not about necessarily changing it, it's just shifting it in a way that works best for you, i.e. your schema. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me if you guys like this. I don't know, I thought this was an interesting topic. I felt like it's something I was going through this year, not recently, but definitely this year. So I wanted to talk about that. But don't also forget to go below and sign up for my newsletter inside of the description, so you can get weekly motivation, you can stay updated when I post, and so much more. Thank you all. Have a good one.